Before you go outside, if you've never done a customer discovery interview, it's probably helpful to actually do dry runs. First with maybe your co-founders, and then with some friends who are actually not inside your company, where you can actually try to do these questions without giggling hysterically or being flustered. And so just getting some practice. You don't have to practice for a week or a month, but I'd say at least 3 to 5 times just practicing this. And the first couple times you'll actually be reading off a script. And then after you get comfortable, you'll kind of understand the general gestalt of where you want to go. The other thing is, if you're a founder of a company, you ought to understand that customer discovery can't be outsourced or can't be given to an employee. It's a big idea. The reason why you're doing discovery, it's not a focus group. It's not a focus group. What you're trying to do is, number one, validate your initial hypotheses. But we now know most of your hypotheses are probably wrong. But an employee or a consultant can't take the next step, which is actually to test whether you need to iterate or pivot. They're not authorized to change the company's strategy. For customer discovery, a pivot is defined as a substantive change to one or more of the business model canvas components. What's a business model canvas component? Who's the customer? What's the product? What's the channel? How are we doing acquisition? What's the pricing? Only founders could look at a customer and say, you really didn't like that pricing. Well, what if I did it on a subscription basis? All of a sudden, a customer might go, subscription, that's great. You can't expect an employee or a consultant to ask those questions. So, one of the things we talk about before you get out of the building is called designing pass-fail experiments. And this might seem really complicated, like it requires math or formulas or whatever, but a pass-fail experiment is almost as simply as setting up a bet with yourself. And the bet with yourself could be, well, I think I'm going to be talking to these customers, and here's the reaction I think they're going to have. Or it could be, I think it's going to be men 35 to 43 who will love this product. And later when you find out it's teens, 18 to 22, who live in urban areas, you're going to kind of go, lost that bet, but learned a lot. Or later on, as you're actually testing customer acquisition, you might be making more sophisticated bets. Gee, I think for every $10 in keywords, I'm going to get 43 people to hit the site, and then 10% of them will actually activate. Really interesting to see what the data looks over time. So instead of just getting random numbers back, you've set a set of expectations based on some hypotheses or maybe some earlier data, and you now get to compare your hypotheses with the experiments and the data. And what you're looking for is insight. Why were we right? Why were we wrong? What's the next step to take?